Welcome to Painting Made Easy with April May. I'm April May, and today we're continuing the ballet shoes. So let's get started. I'm still just kind of working on the table, again in oil, and I'm sorry about the really bad angle. I'll make sure in future videos that the camera is set straight on with the canvas, because this is not a good angle at all. So I'm adding in shadows underneath the shoes, and then I've added in some highlight across the toe. The angle's got a very bad reflection from the light on my right hand side on my table. So making the painting look a lot more washed out than it really is. And when I'm painting in oil, I will dab my paintbrush on a paper towel a lot to get the paint off of there, because when you're painting, sometimes you're pulling paint off, and if you go back into the same spot, you're going to transfer the color you slide through back into the place where you set your paintbrush back down. So I will wipe my paintbrush on a paper towel to clean it before I go back onto the canvas. And I'm constantly referring to my reference photo. And keep in mind when you're watching these videos are sped up. This took me the course of 3 days to complete this video, and working, hours at a time on it. So don't get discouraged if you feel like it's taking you forever to get through a painting. It should. I mean, it's not something where, these aren't a Bob Ross painting where you can get them done in 30 minutes. I can't paint a painting in 30 minutes to save my soul. They always take me way longer than I think they should. I feel like the angle on this camera is getting worse. I'm gonna have to figure something out, because when the camera is mounted, you know, kind of straight on to the canvas, it's in my way and I tend to bump it a lot. Here I have it mounted to my easel, but it's down low, so it's kind of slung to the side a little bit. I'm gonna have to figure something out, because I don't like this angle at all. And here I'm still kind of I've blocked it in with the acrylic paints, but I'm kind of going back over and I'm blocking it back in with the oil paints. And I do that just so that the paint will flow smooth on the canvas. So now I'm starting to add the detail into, you know, onto the shoes. Okay, so now we've got a better angle here. This is now day, let's see, I think this would be day 3 of the painting. I'm just working on putting in the details now. Oh, romp on it. I don't know if you can hear, but somebody is hot rodding up and down the main road. I was waiting for a crash. This happens a lot out here because I live out in that country, and people are always kind of drag racing up and down this road. And for my shadows, again, I'm just using mixtures of yellow ochre and black. There's a little white mixed in with the yellow ochre and then the black to kind of tone it down. So it's not a gray, but it's kind of a brownish gray. Kind of a taupey color, I guess. So I'm just working on here. I'm using a blender brush. It's a very soft bristled brush. You could use like a blush brush or something, but I'm just using it to kind of smooth out my brush strokes and kind of doing a soft blending. And I'm using the same size brushes that I used for the acrylic portion as I am for the oil portion of this video. I just have kind of a duplicate set, one for oil and one for acrylic. I don't mix mediums with my paintbrushes. And I'm using very thin layers of paint, because with oil, if you layer on too thick, it just becomes a muddy mess. So you have to kind of use a limited amount of paint when you're doing this, when you're kind of layering on top of each other. Otherwise, you'll get to a point where you just can't. You'll have to let the paint dry before you can go back over it. So I'm just following my reference photo and trying to hit all the shadows and the highlights. Now, it's kind of hard to tell in the picture because it's washed out a little bit, but I don't have any true black, and I haven't used any true titanium white. Everything's been dark grays to titanium mixed with yellow ochre. And I won't do any of the final highlights until after I let this painting dry. This painting is becoming too wet, and so it will have to dry before I can do the final highlights. And we'll discuss that when we get closer to the end. And here I use my left hand to help support my right when I need to make fine details. Now, if you have gone to Pixabay and found this reference photo, you just type in ballet shoes, it'll pop up. You'll notice that I have modified the ribbons, the ankle tie ribbons on the left hand shoe. I've modified where they go on the painting because they kind of, in the reference photo, they're kind of lost in there, and so I just kind of drew them in where I wanted them to go. And on the reference photo and in the way I'm trying to paint this, the right hand shoe is in focus and the left hand shoe is a little out of focus, so it's a little blurrier. And even the photo in the left hand corner is of the painting as it sits today. I'm still letting it dry. It may take 3 days, it may take a week, it may take 2 weeks, it may take a month. I'm not really sure. This is the first time I've ever done an oil painting and had it dry in my studio. So we'll see how long it actually takes it to dry because it has several layers of paint on it. So that's how the painting looks today. Once the painting dries completely, I will make a third part to this video showing how I finish off the fine details at the end. I need to bring some of that blue from the background into the highlights of the shoe, because the shoes are a satin, so you know they're going to pick up some of that color. And in the reference photo, the background is not blue, so I need to make sure to bring in some of that background. It also helps kind of tie your painting together and make it cohesive. And I stopped when I did, I stopped the painting and decided to let it dry, because as I was adding paints to it, they weren't sticking correctly and it was getting frustrating. So that's when you just need to just set the painting aside, let those layers dry, and then go back, and it'll be so much easier. This is just a very dark gray mixture of Mars black and titanium white. And I'm using a flat, just a flat brush. So we've kind of slipped back to this bad angle again, but the lighting is a little bit better. Again, I'm just hitting the highlights right now, comparing it to my reference photo, and just painting what I see. Trying to get the wrinkles. These shoes have, little wrinkles from wear and tear and it's satin, so that light bounces off those wrinkles, and I need trying to get those worked in. And then softening them up with the soft blender brush. So we are coming to the conclusion of part 2 of this video. I will be having a part 3. I'm not sure when that will be loaded, but because I've got to wait for the painting to draw, but I will make a part 3 so that you can see how I kind of do my finishing touches. I need to tighten up the details. I need to add some highlights and some lowlights. I need to bring some color from the background into the highlights of the shoes. And so there will be a part 3, so make sure to check for that. So thank you for watching. Remember, you can also find me over at Facebook and Instagram. I hope this painting has inspired you. Now it's your turn to go out and inspire somebody else.